Okay, it is 7:30. I will call the meeting to order and ask Heather to call the roll.
Ms. French?
Here.
Mr. Prethridge?
Here.
Ms. Ragu? Here. Mr. Bracken?
Here.
Mr. Ellerby?
Here.
Ms. Franklin?
Here.
Mayor Snavely?
I'm here. We will begin our meeting then and ask those who would like to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. May we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Any additions, corrections? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. We'll move then to public participation, and we will begin with a proclamation. Whereas on August 26, 1920, the 19th Amendment was certified as part of the Constitution, assuring that the right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. And whereas the struggle for women's suffrage was the first step toward full and equal participation of women in our nation's life, leading in recent years to eliminating discrimination through our laws and in opening new pathways to equal economic opportunity for women. And whereas we recognize that people's attitudes cannot be changed by laws alone, that prejudices still exist and stand in the way of progress for women, we therefore must do all that we can to overcome the barriers against what is fair and right by providing an equal opportunity for all. And whereas we celebrate today the 102nd anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment, as well as the 102nd anniversary of the founding of the League of Women Voters of the United States, and whereas we celebrate the 69th anniversary of the founding of the League of Women Voters of Oxford, Ohio, now therefore, I, William B. Snavely, Mayor of the City of Oxford, Ohio, do hereby proclaim Friday, August 26, 2022, Women's Equality Day, and urge all citizens to join in celebrating our nation's progress of providing equal opportunities for all. And I believe that former counselor Edna Southard will receive the proclamation.
Thank you. I'm accepting this proclamation on behalf of the League of Women Voters, and Jenny Fisher, who's the president of the League, can't be here. So I was asked to, and also Joe McQueen, who is going to come. And she wanted me to say that the first such proclamation was in 1976 that was read here at City Council that acknowledged the equal rights efforts of the 19th Amendment, and that Mayor Gilbert Williams presented the award at that the proclamation at that time, and that Bob Ratterman wrote a story about it.
He's still here.
So I am to say that. I want to say that, and I also want to say that the League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization. Of course, it accepts men and women. There are men who are very active members, and yes, Mayor Snavely as well, and that we have a lot of work to do because helping people in this country get to vote is crucial, and getting out information to the public about voting is crucial. And we still also have a long way to go for equal rights for women and for all citizens. So we have a lot of work to do, and I just want to thank you for this proclamation.
Thank you very much. The audience consists of Bob Ratterman and Dr. Southard. Would anyone like to address council on items that are not on tonight's agenda? Hi, Edna.
I'm Edna Southard, 807 Melinda Drive. And recently I learned about a hole in the Oxford Codified Ordinances. This happens occasionally, and it's work that council does and the city staff does together to fill those gaps and make it safer for our people. We don't have clear leash laws in this city and on public lands, and we need to fill this void to protect all people and animals, including leashed dogs. Now, right now, Oxford only follows the Ohio Revised Code with its antiquated and unclear minimum guidance, as has already been pointed out in public comments that I think you all saw. And in response to my email and public comments about this issue, our Assistant City Manager, Jessica Green, wrote to me yesterday morning, "We'll continue to investigate this topic. I saw several public comments come over the weekend about dog leashing. We'll also examine the procedures, rules in other communities to determine trail best practices." Well, I'm glad to hear that. In all public spaces need to be safe for every member of the public, and we're confused. The public is confused. Let me explain why. The city itself presents confusing information, and in the spirit of being helpful to council and to our city, I submit to you the following information. The Oxford Community Park. The city's website has this statement: "The park is open to everyone, daily, 7 a.m. to dusk, but be sure to follow some simple rules. No dogs without leashes, no grills, no drones, and no alcohol!" Exclamation point. Miami University allows people to walk their pets on the open areas of the campuses, but asks that pets must be leashed and under control by the pet owner at all times in order to protect the health and safety of the people and pets that are on the campuses of Miami University. The Knolls of Oxford says all pets must be leashed and controlled when outside the apartment or cottage. The Butler County Metro Parks, of which Mill Run, which is near the covered bridge, is part, prohibits unleashed dogs and says in section 13, "No person who is the owner or handler of any dog shall fail to keep such animal on a leash composed of rope or similar material sufficient in strength to restrain the dog which is attached and no longer than 6 feet in length unless the dog is a service animal used for medical reasons accompanied by its owner, or two, a police canine supervised by emergency personnel, or 3, within the confines of a designated off-leash dog park." The Ohio State Parks, and that includes Houston Woods, do have leash laws. And Houston Woods actually prohibits pets on all the designated, on all the natural areas, and that is posted on all at the beginning of each trailhead. It says, the Ohio State Parks say, "Pets must be leashed when not in a designated dog park or dog swim area." And 15 state parks offer designated dog park areas complete with fenced-in enclosures and water sources. We do have a dog running area, I believe, at Houston Woods.
Yes.
The city of Loveland has trails that are used and are very, very popular. Their guidelines are this: pets must be leashed and under human control at all times, except in designated dog park enclosures where pets must remain under voice control. A leash is required for arrival and departure, or if there are control issues in the dog park areas. Pets are not allowed in environmentally sensitive areas, and then they list which those are. Among the many cities and towns in Ohio that have leash laws are Cincinnati, which is a very extensive section 701 of their code. It's very accessible, it's very easy to read, and it's very thorough. But there are others: Akron, Barberton, Hudson, Kent, Stowe, Talmadge, Twinsburg, and Cuyahoga Falls. That's on public property with clear fines delineated. And the fines are, the penalties in Cuyahoga Falls are: a first offense is categorized as a minor misdemeanor carrying a fine up to $150. Subsequent offenses are classified as fourth-degree misdemeanors, with penalties being a fine up to $250 and up to 30 days in jail. Moreover, people have,
your time really has expired.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We try to keep with 5 minutes for everybody. But thank you. And I really want to just publicly thank you for bringing this to council's attention. And you've done a lot of research, and I know that staff is working.
And my last point, if I may,
Go ahead.
was that Facebook, if you go on Facebook, there are people complaining about dogs in their areas. And there's one person who posted just a month ago on Dana Drive, which I know is your neighborhood.
It is.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, Bob?
Actually, I will.
See, normally I would say, would anyone from the public, but since it's Edna and Bob, we'll just take one.
I hadn't planned on anything, so I'll keep this very short. But first, I wanted to thank you all for the recognition last meeting. That was sort of interesting. I sent the clip to my kids, and they all were impressed. I got a standing ovation. It's been an interesting 50 years. When I took the retirement with the idea of finding something else, and I gave up the editing piece of it, but I've been writing straight on through. But I've always enjoyed even the late night ones, not so much, but okay. I remember meetings that went well past midnight, and I remember a lot of different school board meetings that went even well past that. But I've always enjoyed covering Oxford. I've always enjoyed living in Oxford, and I've enjoyed raising 3 kids in Oxford, as well as my wife of 50 years now. We've had an interesting time together, and we're gonna now have even more time together. But again, I wanted to thank you and the community really for the support. I've gotten a lot of nice comments from people from most of the year. It almost seemed like a coordinated effort. I kept getting these comments, oh, you can't retire. You can't ever retire. No. And all the while in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I'm going to do it soon. But anyway, I appreciate the recognition last time, and I also, again, appreciate the community, and I love living here, and we have no plans to move anywhere. We are going to do some traveling now.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, if there's no other public comment, we will move to the consent agenda. May we have a motion to approve it?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any items to be removed? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. The consent agenda is approved. We have no resolutions. We'll move to first readings ordinances, and I will recognize Heather.
An ordinance to regulate the rates and charges to be charged and collected and the services to be rendered by Glenwood Energy of Oxford, Inc., its successors and assigns, for gas and gas service furnished to all of its customers within the corporate limits of the City of Oxford during the period ending October 31st, 2025, and repealing and superseding Ordinance Number 3483, which together previously regulated such rates, charges, and services.
Thank you. Doug?
Thank you. In December of 2021, Glenwood Energy of Oxford submitted an application to update Ordinance 3483 and the applicable natural gas rate tariffs. Glenwood Energy is seeking a rate increase in the general service rate, which is the fee to get natural gas to your home, and the service charge, which is the amount charged per meter. The determination of the general service rate follows PUCO's rate of return regulations for revenue requirements, which is the amount of money that allows the company to cover expenses and earn a fair return on investment. The city engaged Bricker and Eckler and a utility rate consultant to review the application. As you know, the City of Oxford sets the rates for Glenwood Energy's Oxford customers utilizing the rate-making principles of PUCO. If an agreement is not reached, Glenwood Energy may apply to the PUCO for a rate increase. The main revenue components of Glenwood Energy's rate structure are 3: a gas cost recovery rate, a fixed meter charge, and a general service rate. The gas cost recovery rate is based on the price which Glenwood must pay to purchase gas. It varies depending on the market and is passed directly on to the consumer. It's not part of the local rate-making process, nor is Glenwood entitled to earn a profit on it. The gas cost recovery rate varies and was, and I'm going to round these numbers off because they carried out 4 decimal points, 9.3 per MCF actually, let's say 9.23 cents per MCF for the last month. And the previous month, it was $10.64 per MCF. So that gas cost recovery comprises approximately 60 to 70% of the customer's monthly bill. Glenwood is entitled to collect on several other riders, fees and charges which are noted in the ordinance, which remain the same or are eliminated with the proposed ordinance discussed below. So Glenwood's application contained a proposed modification to customers' fixed monthly customer meter charge and their variable general service rate for a 3-year period, as previous ordinances have. Glenwood proposed 2 options. The primary proposal increases the general service rate from $3.46 per MCF to $4.07 per MCF with no increase in the monthly fixed charge. The alternative proposal increases the monthly customer meter charge and the general service rate from $3.46 per MCF to $3.65 per MCF. Our consultant reviewed the application, supporting documentation, and requested further information from Glenwood. The rates proposed in the application were generally reasonable and in accordance with established PUCO rate-making principles, with the exception that certain items required adjustments. These adjustments were discussed with the city manager and the service director. The focus was on the alternative proposal, as it was more consistent with the established natural gas rate precedent of PUCO. So our legal and utility rate consultants met with Glenwood Energy and reached an agreement on the proposed rate adjustments. The proposed ordinance would increase the monthly residential meter charge in year 1 from $10 per meter. In years 2 and 3, the residential meter charge would increase from $12 to $14 per meter. The monthly commercial industrial meter charge would increase from $12 to $16 per meter in year 1. In years 2 and 3, the monthly commercial industrial meter charge would increase from $16 to $20 per meter. The GSR would remain at the current rate of $3.46 per MCF for both residential and commercial industrial customers. The settlement proposal results then in a 19 cents per MCF reduction in the proposed GSR from Glenwood's alternative proposal. So the service director and I are recommending approval of this new rate ordinance, and if it's adopted by council at our next meeting, the new rates would take effect November 1st, 2022, and I'd be glad to answer any questions you have on the proposed ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address this ordinance before council? Seeing none, councilors, any comments or questions?
Other than noting the diversity of things that city management and a small municipality must deal with, including rate making, so I'm happy that there are expert consultants that you can work with to sort these things out.
Thank you. Yeah, and I promise not to read the full report the next
Thank you.
meeting. I just wanted the public to understand, how the rates are set and what components of the rates are set locally.
And how much worse it could have been.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. With, if there's no other comments or questions, we'll move to second reading and turn to Heather.
An ordinance approving a 6-month extension of the approved final subdivision plat for South Forest Edge, Section 1.
Okay, is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Sam, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. No changes since the first reading. This is the plat that would actually expire next month for the 36 land dominium lots on the north side of Lake Forest Drive.
Okay, thanks. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address this? Counselors, any comments? Are you ready to vote? Would you please call the roll?
Mr. Prethridge?
Yes.
Ms. Ragu?
Yes.
Mr. Bracken?
Yes.
Mr. Ellerby?
Yes.
Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Ms. French?
Yes.
Mayor Snavely?
Yes. The ordinance is adopted, and you may now read the second.
An ordinance approving a 6-month extension of the approved final subdivision plat for South Forest Edge, Section 2.
Okay, is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
So moved. Second.
And there's a second. Thank you, Councilor French. And Sam?
Very similar request on the other side of the street. This is the single-family 21 lots, and it would expire next March.
Okay. Thank you, and there's no changes. Okay. Anyone from the public want to address this one? Seeing none. Counselors? We've had just as much discussion as last week. I will ask for a call of the roll.
Ms. Ragu?
Yes.
Mr. Bracken?
Yes.
Mr. Ellerby?
Yes.
Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Ms. French?
Yes.
Mr. Prethridge?
Yes.
Mayor Snavely?
Yes, this ordinance is adopted as well. We'll move then to announcements and communications, remarks from city council and staff, and I'll begin with city manager Doug Elliott.
Thank you. I just have a few comments. Wanted to share with you about our municipal parking garage lease. I did share with council that, as you may know, we have basically 4 floors in our municipal parking garage. The first floor is metered, second and third floor we lease to students, to business owners, to other residents who may want a parking space there. But the top floor, 60 parking spaces on the top floor is leased to basically Red Brook Pride LLC, which is Elms Hotel. And we had an agreement which was signed in 2001. The lease calls for an adjustment each year based on CPIU. All items, U.S. city average, and I wanted to share with you that the lease was recently adjusted from the lease amount of $3,075.26 per month to $3,317.28 per month, which is effective August 1st, 2022. This represents a 7.8% increase from the current amount, so just wanted to keep the public informed on the parking garage there. And of course, it is an aging structure, and we need to maintain that. And you will see in the CIP we have some money allocated that we're proposing for parking garage improvements. The other thing that I wanted to share with you is that department heads have submitted their CIP capital improvement project and equipment requests to the city manager. We've been reviewing those and made some revisions and additions. We'll be submitting that to City Council on Friday, August 19th, and we will be scheduling a work session for Monday, September the 12th, to go over that proposed CIP with City Council. And then also this year we'll be seeking some citizen input on several CIP options to an online engagement tool, which is the first time we've done that. So a lot going on. We're very, very busy. You wouldn't know that looking at our agenda, but as Amber and I discussed earlier, as she said, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. And of course, this is a busy time for us with, basically 3/4 of our population returning students. And, so we've got a lot going on, with the comp plan, with the proposal to soften our water, so on and so forth. So, it's a busy time for us. And that's all I have this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike?
Your Honor, thank you, members of council. Given the hour, I'll try to be brief. So, thank you. Oh, it's a tough room, isn't it? Just a few quick updates. Street resurfacing has been completed, and the line striping was going down today. We still need the thermoplastic crew to come in and do McGuffey. We expect them in the next day or two. So we will wrap up that project. We have our proposals for water softening at the water treatment plant, so we're conducting interviews with prospective firms, and we'll work with the city manager to bring a contract to you hopefully in the next few weeks. Along with that, there is a special program through Ohio EPA allowing us to nominate projects for principal forgiveness using federal funds. So I'll be working with the finance director and city manager to see how best we might qualify for design fees for the softening and possibly get principal forgiveness, which would be very good for the ratepayers. And finally, with move-in, special collection of solid waste in the Mile Square will begin on Thursday, and it will run for about 10 days and be completed not the next Saturday, but the following Saturday. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Does anyone have questions? Okay. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Chief Jones? Joe?
Thank you. Usually I don't get up, but I just wanted to say that since the beginning of August, when we sent out the letters for a short-term rental, we've received a lot of phone calls, a lot of confused people, a lot of people that were angry and whatnot. And I just want to publicly thank Becky Kolb from the Community Development Department for handling all the rental questions about rental permits and such. And then in my department, Heidi Hill and Stephanie Gray, they've been dealing with a lot of people that are not always happy to be dealing with. And I just wanted to give them public recognition because they're going above and beyond. If you've ever tried to deal with, I know that we have, trying to get any information from Airbnb, it's next to impossible to get a person on a phone to get any help. They've gone online and tried to figure out the best they can to help people deal with the Airbnb issues they have, and just explain that the tax was put in place. And I mean, they get a lot of long phone calls that we're short-staffed to begin with, and they're just going the extra mile. I just want to say that publicly. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it, and we appreciate your staff. Chief Etheridge? Okay. Sam? Jessica?
Good evening. First, I want to say welcome back to school, Talawanda School District. So I think we're lucky to have such a great school in our community, and proud to have my son in his senior year. So that's kind of exciting. I wanted to give you an update that Sam and I have been working diligently on an RFQ to go out for a nonprofit housing partner, and we're this close. So that's pretty exciting, and our goal is to hopefully have something to bring back to council by late fall to begin working on some of our housing projects and ideas. So I just kind of wanted to give you an update that those are the kind of things we work on behind the scenes, and it's a lot of like just getting things clear and typing them out and those kind of things. I did want to remind everyone that next Friday the 26th is our Red Brick Friday Streets and Eats event, and that's our partnership with Miami University, and it's a big welcome back event. So Miami comes up, and they are an equal partner in this. So they're I forget the name of it, but first the transition programs that they work with, they are a partner. And then Doug already mentioned this, but on Friday you will see the capital improvement plan public input tool go out on social media, and then our next city newsletter, it'll be a link, and it's a pretty snazzy little tool. What we did is we kind of removed all of the essential services, like we got to take care of water and wastewater and those kind of things. But then after that, we said this is the other projects that are left. What are your top priorities? And people can kind of rank them and put their dollar amounts. And there's even a little free space that says, I have ideas. And so we'll tabulate that and be able to share with you kind of what the public are reporting back. So thank you.
Super, thank you. Heather?
Nothing, thank you.
Chris?
Nothing, Mayor.
Good to see you. Glenn?
I would just like to welcome back the students when they get here and just make sure to be considerate of each other. Speaking of which, I want to talk about the whole pet situation. I am kind of disappointed with our citizens and how they react to each other, because I figured that the citizens of Oxford are better than that, but it seems like because of the multiple incidents that I've heard of, and in addition the emails that we've received, we now have to legislate this because people can't be considerate of one another. I don't understand why, but now we have to move forward with those kinds of things, and I would hope that everybody out there listening would try to be as considerate to each other as possible, because this is one of the best places to live, and it's because of the people that are here.
Thank you, Glenn. Alex?
I just want to echo Councilor Ellerby's sentiments and thank Dr. Southard for all her work in compiling that information for us. Looking forward to tackling that issue, and looking forward to seeing both the Miami students and our townsfolk at the next Red Brick Friday. I heard there's a zip line, and I cannot wait to zip line through Oxford. So thank you.
Vice Mayor Ragu.
I have a few things on different topics. I missed Dog Days, which I was really bummed about because I was in Denver for my local progress conference. So it's a convening of over 300 locally elected officials from all over the country that basically get together to learn from each other. And one of the sessions we had was about community land trust, and it's really exciting to hear from people who already have it and the problems that they have. And as far as the model, from my understanding of it, they were really, it seemed to be the best type of model, that the models in which they sold the property to the person and then they sold it again to try to get equity, it seemed like it ended up being a really hard situation for the homeowner. They wish that they rather rented. So, yeah. And so they were saying that from a racial perspective and an equity perspective, or like equitable, it ended up being better whenever they were renting because they didn't have to pay the property tax. And then they weren't responsible for the renovation. So I was really excited to be able to be like, wow, this is something we're working on. And there's also a nonprofit that is willing to donate their expertise. If y'all want to talk to them, they'd be happy to have like a 1-hour session completely free of charge. And they kind of had their finger on the pulse of all the community land trusts of like around the nation. So that was really exciting. And then I also, through that organization, applied to be, they call it a housing lab, and they select 12 locally elected officials from around the country to get together for an 11-month program to generate policy, what is feasible, and they provide staff to help us with it. So a lot more to come over the next year. So that's kind of my big homework. And then they told me not to mention this, but they're flying us out to Chicago in November, and there might be some funds for a community partner to come with me. So I don't know exactly what that means, but I'm just throwing that out there. So if there is the money for that. And then the last thing is, I'm sure everyone knows about Thredup and this amazing warehouse that they have, and Shauna, and her board are just a powerhouse. And I can't think of a better kind of connecting the dots between sustainability, local economy, and entrepreneur, and they are able to rent this space for $15,000 a year, which is really pretty impressive. I would propose, if we have the ability, to support them in this, because they are really hoping to hire people. If we could do like a one-time seed money to help them with their rent for like $15,000. So I'm just throwing that out there. I will harp on it later in the future, but just dropping a seed.
Thank you. Amber?
Yes. First of all, I'd like to thank city staff, following up on what Joe said. Thank you for sharing that with us, everything that you're going through, responding to the public. Thank you to Mr. Dreisbach and city staff for helping to get that mural up on the wall. That's a big win. Looking forward to the plaque being able to be put up as well, so that as people read it, they'll understand what the mural is about. I did hear from a resident who had some questions about water fountains on our trails. Would love to see some more, and would love to see the kind of fountains like what we have uptown with the dog, the water bottle fill. So I just wanted to put that out there. And I also wanted to say thank you. I'm glad that we recognized Women's Equality Day. A few meetings ago, I talked about the importance of practicing hope as a discipline. Not just a feeling, but actual practice. And when I think about the overturning of Roe v. Wade, I think it's important for us to consider, to take the time to celebrate the advancements that we have made and to know that progress is possible. When the proclamation was read, there was a line that talked about the full and equal participation of women in our nation's life. And the overturning of Roe v. Wade does curtail that full and equal participation by suppressing reproductive freedom. But we should still celebrate. And we should still recognize that things have changed and things can continue to change. So thank you for reading that proclamation, and thank you for being here to accept it, Dr. Southard.
I just wanted to take a second to celebrate the Inflation Reduction Act, which does major things for the climate, reduces the deficit by $300 billion. There's money in there for American manufacturing. It drops healthcare costs. It saves money by increasing corporate taxes and negotiating drug costs for Medicare. It is huge. It is major progress. And it's not perfect, but it's a big step forward, and I wanted to recognize that.
Thank you. David?
Awesome. Two things. One is I really appreciate the comment about all the work that goes behind the scenes, because while I love to have short meetings and not have work sessions and be done with it in half an hour, part of me feels like when I look at the list of our priorities and our comprehensive plan, I see a long list of work that we need to be doing. And so I guess I would, it's difficult for us as council to make progress ahead of staff. Staff has to be ready to support us. But I guess I would just personally volunteer that, like, I've got 2 nights a month blocked off, and so I'm happy if there are work sessions that we can contribute with staff to making progress. I think things like, I was looking at the Environmental Commission minutes about a public service project to explore possible recycling ordinances, and part of me would just love to, like, do we need to wait another year? Is that a work session? And we can, and all of us, many of us are, I think we're all researchers. We can, so I guess looking to staff to the degree that we can help move the agenda forward with our time and with our efforts, I personally am happy to do that. I'll be happy to get home early too. But the second thing was I want to recognize, I don't know if everybody got a letter that was about Contreras Road, and I just want to acknowledge it was an anonymous letter that was sent to us, and I don't know if you guys got a copy of this. It basically was saying that, talking about Contreras Road, well, first I want to start by thanking the Streets and Maintenance Department for an amazing job. There's been so much improvement around town this summer between the paving projects and the curb cuts. Things have probably never looked better in Oxford in terms of our streets. But the more complete our streets are, the more you start to see where the gaps are. So this is just a letter that I want to acknowledge that someone had written to us, talking about Contreras Road, for example, has sidewalks on one side but not on another. So those people who live on Dana and Joseph who want to go to Kroger have a discontinuous sidewalk network. And so we do have a complete streets ordinance that seeks to correct those things when they are feasible. We'll use the best practices, but I think it's one of those things like, we as a council and city, like, how can we put those things on a list so we can look hard at them and decide what is feasible? The thing that they did also point out was the fact that we have a kind of weird conundrum where we have streets like Joseph Drive or Brookview Court that don't have sidewalks, so they don't really merit crosswalks because there's not a sidewalk. But I was just talking to parents of a kid today whose bus stop is on the corner of Brookville and Locust, so he has to get across Locust to get to his bus stop. But there's no crosswalk at Brookville because there's no sidewalk, which seems like it seems like a negative catch-22. So I think that just want to thank the person for writing and pointing out that the city tries to do the best that it can, but I think we can always do better. And looking at some of those, again, as our network gets better and better and more complete, it just starts to point out, well, this is where the hole is. So, but it's a continuous progress. So, but again, thanks to Streets and Maintenance, they worked really, really hard this week. You can keep it for public record. Thank you.
Couple of things. One, I just want to reference that letter and encourage people, if you're going to write to council, to include your name. When you do that, it carries more weight with council than if you write it anonymously. And some councilors may not even read an anonymous letter. So, word to the wise, sign your letters and you'll get a little bit more action on them, I think. The other comments I have to make are sad commentary, but we lost 2 citizens of our community over the past week. And first I want to recognize Sergeant Barry Gray. He's retired from the Oxford Police Department. I knew him, I guess, for maybe 30 years. Barry was a wonderful human being. He was an excellent police officer, but maybe he was a better human being. And it showed in all the interactions that he had with people, and citizens knew they could trust him. And he's very young, and it was sad to lose him in his 60s. I also want to recognize and pay tribute to Mike Schnipper. Mike passed this past week, and Mike was the chair of our Board of Zoning Appeals. He had 2 full terms, consecutive terms on the BZA. And he was an active member of our community for as long as I can recall. I always knew that Mike would tell it like it is. And I know that council joins me in condolences to both families. it's never easy, and when it's sudden, it seems like it's even more difficult. So we are with you in spirit, both families and friends and acquaintances of those two good individuals. With that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. We're adjourned.